Do you know what was on our first coin as a country? That's it. That's it. Mind your business. Mind your business. Not in God we trust. Mind your business. Maybe we should put that back on our money. Libertarians have a chance to put their chair back at the table and say, small, limited, constitutional government. And Woodrow Wilson did everything he could to design those two parties and keep progressives everywhere.
Well, when you present libertarianism the way you did in the monologue at the outset of the show, small, limited, constitutional government, leave me alone. Stay out of my bank book, stay out of my bedroom. That's very appealing. Most people in their heart of hearts want to be left alone. I don't mean isolated, but I mean alone from power, alone from the government, alone from being told how to live.
Right. Let me just do what I do. And if I break a law, but I don't need to fill out all this paperwork, and I don't need all of these laws. You're stopping me from pursuing happiness.
Well, let me tell you how many laws we have in this country. There's over 4,500 federal criminal laws. And if I were to take all of the federal laws, and it's in a set of books called the United States Code, and put them on a bookshelf, it would consume about 8 or 9 Encyclopedia Britannica sets. It's hard to imagine that any one person has read all those laws or understands them, but we know from history, the more laws, the less liberty. The less liberty, the less likely that that society will survive as a free society, because whoever takes over the government has an opportunity to find some law that somebody has broken, and they will find that law in order to isolate that person.
Right. I was talking to John Mackey today. Do you know who he is?
I do. I'm a big fan of his.
Big fan.
I buy my food at Whole Foods.
Yeah, he's the CEO of Whole Foods. He's a brilliant, brilliant man. And he was pointing out that we have gone from, in just 4 years, I believe, we've gone from the 3rd most economically free nation to the 18th most free economic nation. And there's no way that you can, that we're going to survive like this. You can't.
Before Theodore and Woodrow, I'm going to take Lincoln out of the equation because he lived in the most unique times in our history, or was president in the most unique times in our history, the Civil War. But from George Washington to William McKinley, the president who preceded Theodore Roosevelt, all those presidents, Lincoln out of the equation, believed and understood that the Constitution created a federal government of limited powers, that the federal government could only do aspects of nationhood, defend us from invasions, operate the post office, operate a justice system, preserve patents and trademarks, but that the real boat of government would be rowed by the states, and the states would be different. They wouldn't be forced to conform. So if you didn't like the taxes in New Jersey, you could move to Pennsylvania. If you didn't like the regulation in Massachusetts, you could move to New Hampshire. Woodrow Wilson and Theodore Roosevelt changed all that. They did not believe that the Constitution means what it says. It says it's the supreme law of the land, and it says the federal government can only do the powers delegated to it. They believed that the Constitution authorized the federal government to do anything it wanted, except what is expressly prohibited in the Constitution. Now that turns everything on its head. So instead of the federal government justifying where it got the power to do something, it became the obligation of those offended by the use of that power to show where the federal government was prohibited from doing what it wanted.
And so we've created a place where Chris Rock came out yesterday and he said, look,
Chris Rock?
Yeah, I know. But that is popular culture. I mean, you talk to people who, you know, 20-somethings, they get their news from Jon Stewart. And so Chris Rock came out and he said, look, the president is like our boss. He's like our dad, and we have to listen to him. No, I'm sorry, but I've never worked. Has anybody else worked for a boss where you pay them? We're the boss.
It's an interesting argument. Not only has the federal government stolen power from the states and taken liberty from individuals, but the president has stolen power from the Congress and from the courts. The president is almost like a prince or a king. I mean, 3 days ago, The president's people released to NBC News, of all places, a 16-page document saying that the president can kill Americans.
No, an informed high office official.
Yes, an informed high official of the U.S. government, whoever that may be.
I know who it is. Did you see today? Anybody know? It's John Brenner. So John Brenner is, and it was described, his office is in the basement of the White House. He draws up the list of who the president should kill and authorize, and then make the case to the president.
Well,
he's the guy who said Al-Quds instead of Jerusalem. He is a radical from the get-go.
This is the power claimed by kings and tyrants. This is the power that we fought against letting George III have so that we could become free and independent states. This is the whole reason we have a Constitution and a Fifth Amendment that guarantees that if the government wants life, liberty, or property, they can only acquire it via due process, meaning a jury trial, because the Constitution doesn't repose in the hands of one person, whether the president or John Brennan or anybody that any president might appoint, the power to decide who to kill. It doesn't repose that in the hands of any one individual.